I never thought a simple visit to my son-in-law's house would turn my life upside down. I had just pulled onto the quiet street, mind wandering as I thought about dinner, when I saw it. My wife's car parked right in front of Kevin's house. My heart stopped. For a second, I couldn't move, couldn't breathe. The sight didn't make sense. Emily had never come here unannounced. My mind raced, trying to find a logical explanation. Maybe she just dropped something off for Sophia. Maybe it's nothing, but my gut told me otherwise. Something was wrong. Terribly wrong. I gripped the steering wheel, knuckles white, and slowly stepped out of the car. Each step toward the house felt heavier than the last. The air was cool, eerily quiet, and every small sound, the distant bark of a dog, a rustling tree branch, the hum of a neighbor's AC echoed in my ears. Why is she here? I whispered under my breath. Every instinct screamed that I needed to know. I couldn't just drive away. I pressed myself into the shadows and crept closer. From this distance, I could just make out their silhouettes inside the living room. Emily and Kevin were standing close together, leaning over something on the table. Their body language was tense, almost conspiratorial. I couldn't hear the words clearly yet, but the tone. It made my stomach twist. Something was happening tonight, something I had to uncover. My name is Fred. I'm 65 years old, and I've lived a simple life, trying to do right by my family. But nothing could have prepared me for what I was about to see. Before I continue, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, because what happened next you won't believe. I edged closer to the window, careful not to make a sound. My heart pounded so loudly, I thought they might hear it. Emily's voice was calm, but there was an edge to it, a tension that made my stomach knot. Kevin's voice was low and measured, but something in it made me uneasy. I pressed my ear to the window frame. The first words I caught sent a chill down my spine. Kevin, you need to be careful. If Fred finds out, everything will fall apart. I froze. What falls apart? What are they talking about? My breath caught. My chest felt tight, but I forced myself to stay still. I had to hear more. Kevin replied quietly, almost coldly, don't worry. I've got it all under control. Fred will never suspect a thing. My mind went blank. Never suspect a thing? What do they mean? I wanted to storm in, demand answers, confront them, but I knew that would be a mistake. Patience was my only weapon. Right now, I needed every detail before I acted. I crouched lower, pressing myself against the wall. Emily fidgeted with her hands, glancing nervously at Kevin. Kevin kept looking toward the window, his face tight with anxiety. They thought they were careful, but they had no idea I was here, watching, listening, calculating. Emily leaned closer. To Kevin, whispering, everything has to happen tonight. He can't see it until it's too late. My blood ran cold. Tonight? Too late? What have they done? The words repeated in my mind like a hammer. I could feel my hands trembling. I had to stay hidden, had to observe. Acting too soon would ruin everything. I sank lower, crouched behind a bush, trying to control my shaking. Anger, betrayal, disbelief, all mixed inside me like a storm. Emily, my wife, someone I had trusted with my life. And Kevin, my son-in-law, someone I welcomed into our family. They were conspiring. I whispered under my breath, Fred, stay. Calm, listen, learn, then act. Sophia crossed my mind. My daughter had no idea about the storm that was unfolding right beneath her roof. I had to protect her. My determination solidified, whatever they were planning. I wouldn't let them destroy my family. I noticed details. The way Kevin's hands trembled slightly, the faint rustle of papers, the nervous glances. Every movement, every whispered word was a piece of the puzzle. And I intended to put it all together. Emily's voice softened slightly. though it carried the same chilling weight. You have to make sure he doesn't see this until it's too late. Tonight is everything. I froze again. Tonight is everything. That sentence alone told me the night was about to become a turning point. My pulse quickened. I needed to prepare. I needed to survive this night with every bit of knowledge I could gather. I pressed my back against the side of the house, taking deep breaths to steady myself. The hum of the street faded. The only sounds that mattered were the voices inside, the quiet shuffle of papers, and the tense whispers that carried through the glass. I whispered to myself, "This is only the beginning. By the time the night ends, nothing will ever be the same." And betrayal doesn't go unpunished. I stayed hidden, every sense on high alert, knowing that what I would uncover tonight would change my life forever. I stayed crouched behind the bushes, my heart still hammering from what I had overheard earlier. The words, "Tonight is everything," kept replaying in my mind, each repetition twisting the knife of suspicion deeper. I had no idea what exactly was going on, but I knew it was serious enough to shake the foundation of my entire family. I inched closer to the window, careful not to make a sound. Through the blinds, I could see Emily and Kevin at the kitchen table, hunched over a laptop and a pile of papers. They were whispering urgently, their heads close together. Every movement, every glance, every subtle gesture spoke of secrecy and tension. Emily's voice was sharp, urgent. "Kevin, if we don't do this tonight, it's over. Everything we've worked for. Gone." Kevin's reply was calm but firm, almost chilling. "Relax, I've covered everything. Fred won't suspect a thing." I felt my stomach twist. My mind raced trying to process his words. Fred won't suspect a thing. Does that mean I'm in danger? Or is this about money? About Sophia? I couldn't tell yet, but my gut knew it. Was serious. I sank lower behind the bush, pressing myself against the wall. Every heartbeat felt like a drum, each one louder than the last. Anger, disbelief, and fear surged through me, colliding like a storm. How could Emily, my wife, be part of this? And Kevin, my son-in-law, someone I had trusted. He was in on it too. I watched as Kevin handed Emily an envelope. She glanced nervously around, then tucked it into her bag. The way their shoulders tensed, the subtle fear in Emily's voice, the controlled confidence in Kevin's. Everything told me this wasn't a small matter. They thought they were clever, but they didn't know I was right there, seeing everything. I noticed Emily fidgeting. With a pen, her hands shaking slightly, betraying the nerves she tried to hide. Kevin kept looking toward the window, his jaw tight, his eyes sharp. I realized then that they were planning something serious, something that involved not just me, but Sophia as well. My mind spun with emotions. Anger, betrayal, fear, determination. My hands clenched into fists. My chest felt tight, as if the air had thickened. I wanted to rush in, demand answers, confront them, but a voice inside me whispered, "Patience. Observe first. Plan your next move carefully." I thought of Sophia for a moment, my daughter. She had no idea what was unfolding, no clue that her mother and husband were plotting something behind my back. My protective instincts surged. I had to know everything before acting, because whatever they were planning, it could hurt her, and I wouldn't allow that. I whispered under my breath, steadying my trembling hands, "Fred, stay calm. Don't make a move yet. Listen, learn, and when the time comes, you'll act." Emily leaned closer to Kevin, her voice barely audible. "Everything has to be finalized tonight. If Fred finds out, it's over. The documents, the money. It all has to be done." Kevin's reply was almost casual, but the words carried a dangerous weight. "Relax. Everything is ready. Fred will never see it coming." I felt my chest tighten. The betrayal was worse than I had imagined. Documents? Money? What have they been planning? My mind raced through possibilities. Was this some kind of theft? A secret transfer? Something that could ruin my family financially or emotionally? Emily added, her tone softening but still laced with tension. I just hope Sophia doesn't notice anything. She trusts us completely. Hearing Sophia's name made my stomach churn. My daughter was completely unaware, completely vulnerable. I had to be smart. I had to remain hidden, gather every detail, and then act. I moved slightly, pressing myself into the shadows, my eyes never leaving the window. Kevin pulled out a set of papers from a folder and handed them to Emily. She took them, her hands trembling slightly. Every gesture, every movement, told me this was carefully orchestrated, whispered for what felt like an eternity. Every word they spoke, every glance, every subtle gesture built a puzzle I was determined to solve. I realized that patience was my greatest ally tonight. If I rushed, I would ruin everything. But if I observed, if I waited for the right moment, I could turn the tables completely. Anger surged through me, sharp and burning. Betrayal stung like 1,000 needles. Shock made my head spin. Fear gnawed at me. But underneath it all, determination settled like steel in my chest. I had to protect my family. I had to uncover everything. I had to make sure that Emily and Kevin didn't get away with this. I whispered to myself, barely audible. This isn't just about anger, Fred. It's about justice, about protecting Sophia, about making sure betrayal doesn't go unpunished. I realized that I was calm enough to act strategically, yet emotionally charged enough to care deeply. This balance was crucial. One wrong move, one sign of panic, and everything could collapse. I thought briefly about Sophia. Upstairs, completely. Unaware of the danger lurking just below her feet, she might go about her evening without a clue. That thought both worried and strengthened me. I had to act, not just as a husband betrayed, but as a father protecting his child. Her innocence made the betrayal sting even more. Emily's actions weren't just against me. They threatened Sophia's world. I had to stop them. But first, I had to understand the full picture. I pressed myself deeper into the shadows, whispering a plan aloud. All right, Fred. Step 1, observe everything. Step 2, gather proof. Step 3, confront them at the right moment. Don't rush. Don't get caught. Knowledge is power. I surveyed the surroundings. Quiet street, long shadows. No neighbors in sight. Every advantage was mine if I remained patient. Not Emily suddenly stood, glancing toward the front door, as if she sensed something. My pulse raced. Did she notice me? I froze, hardly daring to breathe. After a tense moment, she returned to Kevin, shaking her head. Relief washed over me, but the tension remained. Emily whispered, urgency in her tone. Kevin, the transfer must happen tonight. If Fred finds out first, it's ruined. Kevin nodded, expression cold. Relax. Fred trusts us completely. But not for long. I clenched my fists. Not for long. Their arrogance, their assumption that I wouldn't discover the truth, it fueled my resolve. I was going to turn their own planning against them, but only when the moment was right. I crouched behind the bush, my mind racing, every sense alert. I had gathered enough information to understand that Emily and Kevin were plotting something serious, something that could destroy trust, relationships, and maybe even lives. I whispered, voice trembling with a mix of fear and determination. Tonight, they're going to see that Fred isn't just a quiet old man. Tonight, justice will find its way. The tension was unbearable. I knew the next step I took would decide everything, and I could feel it deep down, the confrontation, the exposure, the revenge. It was coming. The house was quiet, the kind of quiet that presses against your chest and makes every little sound feel amplified. I had spent hours crouched in the shadows, observing, listening, and carefully planning. I knew exactly what I had to do now. It was time to act. No hesitation, no mistakes. I took a deep breath, feeling the adrenaline surge through me. My hands, which had been shaking earlier, were now steady. My mind was clear. I edged closer to the front door, careful to remain unseen. A faint glow from the kitchen light spilled onto the porch, casting long, wavering shadows. I could hear Emily's voice, low and nervous, and Kevin's calm, measured tone. "This has to work tonight," Emily whispered. "Fred can't find out before we finish." I pressed myself against the wall, every instinct on alert. I knew the truth was about to come out, and I was ready. I opened the door slowly, stepping inside just enough for my presence to be noticed. A sudden cough, a small shift of my weight, and Kevin spun around, shock written across his face. Emily froze, eyes wide. "Fred, how?" Kevin stammered. I raised a hand, cutting him off. "I've been watching. I've been listening. And I know everything." Emily's hands trembled. "Fred, it's not what you think." I shook my head. "Oh, I think it is. And tonight, you're going to understand that betrayal has consequences." I moved closer, spreading out the evidence I had collected, photos, papers, digital records, all the proof I needed. Kevin's confident facade faltered. Emily's face went pale. "You thought I wouldn't notice. You thought I was blind," I said. "But I've seen everything. Every secret, every plan, and now it ends tonight." Kevin tried to speak, but I raised my hand. "No explanations, no excuses. I've listened long enough. Every lie, every secret, every scheme, it's all exposed." Emily's voice cracked, a mixture of fear and guilt. "Fred, I didn't mean—" "You didn't mean to betray me? Didn't mean to involve Sophia? Didn't mean to destroy trust?" I cut in, my voice calm but icy. "Your intentions don't matter anymore. The truth is out, and now you face it." Kevin's jaw tightened. "Fred, it's complicated. You don't understand." I stepped closer, spreading the documents across the table. "Complicated? No, it's simple. You broke trust. You betrayed family. And now you deal with it." I had prepared carefully for this confrontation. I hadn't rushed in blindly. Every move, every word, every piece of evidence had been thought out. My goal wasn't just to punish them. It was to expose the truth fully, protect Sophia, and ensure that no more deception could touch our family. Emily and Kevin tried to argue, but the evidence was undeniable. The documents, the receipts, the recordings, they couldn't escape it. Their faces reflected the shock and guilt that I had imagined for hours. I looked at Emily. "Do you realize what you've done? How close you came to destroying everything?" Her voice trembled. I didn't think." I shook my head. "You didn't think. That's the problem. And Kevin, your arrogance almost cost us everything. After laying everything bare." I took a step back. The weight of the night pressed on me, but there was relief too. Relief that the truth was out. Relief that Sophia was safe. Relief that I had stayed patient, that I had planned carefully, that I had acted with purpose. Sophia came down the stairs quietly, her eyes wide, sensing the tension. I pulled her close. "It's okay, sweetheart. Everything's going to be all right." Her innocence reminded me why I'd done all this. The betrayal cut deeply. Yes, but protecting her, standing up for my family, that made everything worth it. I realized that night that life is full of betrayal, heartbreak, and deception. But it's also full of courage, strength, and the power to right wrongs. And sometimes the quiet, careful ones, the ones you underestimate, are the ones who Restore balance. I looked at Emily and Kevin, their faces pale and full of guilt. I thought about everything that had happened, the lies, the secrets, the near destruction of our family. And I understood something important. Betrayal can't be ignored. Deception can't be tolerated. And justice, however delayed, always finds a way. I took a deep breath, feeling the tension finally ease from my body. The night had been harsh, but it was necessary. I had learned that patience, careful planning, and emotional control are stronger than rage. That sometimes. The quiet ones, the observant. The careful are the ones who can turn the tide. Sophia leaned against me, her small presence grounding me. I knew she was safe. I knew our family would survive this night, stronger and wiser. I looked at you, the one listening, as if you were right there with me. I want to know what you think about what happened. Leave your thoughts in the comments below. And for more shocking stories like this, please subscribe to this channel. The night was over. The betrayal had been exposed. The lesson had been learned. And I, Fred, was ready to face whatever came next with eyes wide open and a heart determined to protect those I loved.